As consumers, we are bombarded by it at every turn, like the Incredible Hulk being bombarded by gamma rays. But what makes some media endure, while others are banished to the forgotten black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again? Who or what decides this? Hetero life mates Steve and Yahel want to know, and they want to know now. This is Obscurity Now. And what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Obscurity Now, the show where we take a look at weird and almost forgotten pieces of media, and then we decide if it should be remembered for all of human history or tossed into the black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again. My name is Steve, and with me is the guy who all the villagers look to when they're being tormented by the gods.
It is Yahel. How are you doing today, Steve? Or may I call you Big Aeolus?
See, I was going to say, you're the Aeolus. I'm the Hercules here.
But you're just Big Aeolus. I'm Little Hercules.
All right.
Little
I guess I can live with that.
These can be our rap names.
Oh, Little Herc, or no, Big Aeolus, Little Herc.
Lil, Lil.
Lil, gotcha, yeah. Those are the funkiest rap names I've ever heard.
Yeah, and yours is spelled B-I-G and then E-E-Yo-Y-O is in capital letters.
Oh, Biggie Herc.
Eeolus.
Right.
L-I $.
Well, thank you for charting the rest of my adult life. I can't wait. We got a rap group going here. Forget podcasting. Yeah. Rapping is where the money is anyway. Hello,
I figured, you have the hair closer to Aeolus. You're kind of a dark brown, little blondish at times. And my hair's long and I'm tanner.
Right. Yeah.
So that's kind of where I was going.
Sure. I'll
Big EO.
For the sake of the podcast, I will go along with all of that. But in case you, the listener/viewer, are wondering what we're talking about, we are talking about what I like to call is the Sorbo verse, the Hercules Sorbo verse, and AKA the TV show was called Hercules: The Legendary Journeys, which Hercules was portrayed by possibly the greatest actor next to Nicolas Cage and David Hasselhoff in our time, one Kevin Sorbo. Kevin, I'm in love with God Sorbo.
Yeah, he is. He sure does love the Lord. Recently trending Kevin Sorbo, as a matter of fact. So very, very timely of us to have this show planned. He was. I know I sent you the message, but he was. I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but like he was trending yesterday because he tweeted something like, if CNN's had pronouns, they would be was and were. And the problem is, was and were aren't pronouns.
Right, but it's still a good line. It's still a good line, though, I think.
It's stupid. Like I think it says. I bet it's something he heard. He didn't think about it. Didn't think about how grammatically incorrect it was, and he's like, this will be clever. And he's like, I'm going to send out a Herc tweet.
It's like one of those things it's like clever and it isn't at the same time somehow.
Yeah. And it's old. Like it's old. Like it's nothing. I've seen tweets like that, like about various different things,
Well, I mean, only recently, and again, we don't have to get into it, only recently did CNN Plus get canceled, right? I mean, that's pretty timely.
Yeah. No, I mean the
pronoun
joke
thing.
of the pronoun based jokes.
Yeah.
Like
that's not new.
But
I mean, if you're one of those ultra conservative types, with which if you are, that's perfectly fine. You're still welcome to watch this show. Either way, we'll take.
Get out. I'm kidding.
Yeah, we'll take your like and subscribe and share. Anyone. We're that desperate.
But I think for most Christians and conservatives, Kevin Sorbo is one of those that they kind of go, ooh, this guy's a bit cringe.
Right, and that's okay. So what we're talking about here, all right, so he played basically Hercules. Kevin Sorbo bursts onto the scene in the 90s. Of course, we saw him briefly in our Murder, She Wrote episode, which involved VR, virtual reality, as like a computer guy or head of this sort of like computer team. Make sure you check out that episode if you want to see like Sorbo before he became Hercules. And then he got cast in Renaissance Pictures' TV movie, which is what we're talking about today, Hercules and the Amazon Women. And then Hercules was just huge in the 90s. Like, do you remember? Apparently it took down Baywatch as like the #1 syndicated show on cable. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I read that too, and I believe it. But I mean, '96, I believe, was kind of like, towards Baywatch. Baywatch had already been around for a while.
Sure.
So
well, somebody had to take up the mantle.
Yeah. Notice how it didn't take over Baywatch Nights in popularity.
Nothing will, and I've got future ideas for Baywatch Nights episodes, which we'll have to talk about once we get through this.
I bet the sentence you just said, "I've got future ideas for Baywatch Nights episodes," it's something that David Hasselhoff bothers his wife with every day.
Is David Hasselhoff
Honey,
married?
are you coming to bed? I don't know. Honey, are you coming to bed? You don't understand. I've got ideas for Baywatch Nights episodes.
I can see him bothering his assistant about it. He's like, "Did you fax my scripts?" That's right, fax. He's still stuck in the 90s. Like, "Did you fax my scripts to, I don't know, whoever it was that produced Baywatch?" And he's like, "Oh, yes, Mr. Hasselhoff. Right away, Mr. Hasselhoff." Meanwhile, he's just like throwing them in the trash. But we're not here to talk about the Hoff. We're here to talk about Hercules and the Amazon Women, the Sorb. Are you ready to absorb into the Sorb with Hercules? And all right, let's run it.
Let's go swimming with sexy Sorbo.
It's time to go Sorb deep, baby.
Welcome to your feature presentation.
All right. As I said before, Hercules and the Amazon Women is the name of a TV movie which basically kicked off the Hercules Sorbo-verse, which is the show and the movies were produced by Renaissance Pictures, which we talked about on the Mantis episode, which is Sam Raimi and Rob Tappart. They, the creators of Evil Dead and Army of Darkness, that is their company. Do you think he's like a fake God guy, or he's just there for the paycheck?
Man, it's hard to tell because in preparing for this episode, I read a couple of Kevin Sorbo interviews. One was from 2013 and another one was from 2015. And he seemed pretty normal for the most part. He doesn't like bring up any of the crazy talking points that he brings up now, the crazy like, and I mean, if you're Christian, that's fine. I'm not saying like you're crazy because you're Christian. I mean, you probably are. But I'm not saying you. But I'm not saying you are. No, but
oh boy, there goes our already small audience. All right,
our small Christian audience.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. But like he goes really, extremisms of any sort tend to be like kind of cringy.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
And he goes pretty extreme whenever he brings up Christianity or his political views or whatever. But yeah, I wonder if he's doing it just more so because he's getting a lot of parts in movies like God's Not Dead Yet,
right,
and stuff like that. He does a lot of like direct to streaming and direct to DVD Christian movies. Sometimes these movies do even make it to the theater.
Yeah, I mean, even Nicolas Cage did that remake of Left Behind, like. But I mean, I don't know. I just assumed.
But Nicolas Cage knows a good comedy when he says.
Yeah. You know what? We might have to put that on the list. I think that might be worth watching.
Yeah, I'm down.
So in case,
but
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Steve. But one other thing I was going to say is one of the things that makes me think like it is a bit of a shtick, unless he's like been recently converted. Maybe, maybe he's one of these guys that was like a kind of a casual churchgoer, kind of a casual Christian. I believe in God, but not religious per se. Maybe in the last few years he's been converted, because if you look at if he is sincere, because if you look at his previous catalog, like he did a movie, for example, Pool Boy, which is one of our favorites.
Yes,
and it is not something you would see him in today, or that he would use to present himself as a Christian. It's
right.
Super over the top. It's very I don't know, gratuitous.
Yes, it's very early 2000s.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
And but just to his defense, I mean, I'm not, and maybe you were able to find it. I mean, he had like a brain injury, or like an almost fatal brain injury, right?
Wait, and I'm the one insulting the audience.
No, I'm serious. No, not. I mean, he had some sort of disease, and he survived it, and that's when he supposedly became quote unquote.
Oh, I didn't know that. So I'm sorry. I thought you were saying that like that he has a brain injury and now he believes.
No, he had like a fatal, like almost fatal, like disease of some kind. It might be brain cancer, and that's what happens. And that's why he credits God for, basically saving his life. So,
all right,
and we can assume that happened after Pool Boy 2.
Yeah, God was not happy with Kevin. Had to teach him a lesson, knock him down a peg or two.
Right.
No, I never heard that. But that's typical, right? Of a lot of people that have like a big event in their life, especially if it's health related, and they make it through. A lot of times they'll credit God, not the medical team.
or science.
Months working around the clock to save them.
All right. Well, it's obvious what we believe in, so it's okay. Audience, either like it or love it. I don't know, or hate it. Yeah. Whatever.
I mean, yeah. We're having a lot of fun. I will say, atheists can be just as annoying and cringy,
quite indeed,
as well. Even though I myself consider myself an atheist, and man,
here.
there's some atheists who I want them to shut up about being an atheist.
Oh yeah, like there's this. This is completely off topic. There's this person that I'm friends with on Instagram, and every holiday she's got a little something to say. It's like, if you don't celebrate, then just keep your mouth shut. Whatever.
Yeah.
But all right. Anyway, back to Hercules here. It premiered Hercules and the Amazon Women. The TV movie premiered April 25th, 1994. Did you catch it on its premiere date, Yahel Velazquez?
I don't know if I caught it on its premiere date, to be honest with you, but I definitely watched it. I believe that this did end up getting re-aired in syndication.
Oh, absolutely.
So, and I want to say it even got like cut up, like as if there were episodes at one point.
I believe you're right. Mm-hmm.
From what I remember. So, yeah, I definitely watched it. I don't think I watched it when it premiered. How about you?
Oh, I definitely did, because all I did was watch TV in the 90s. Like I was trying to think to myself. I was like, man, why did I watch so much TV back then? I don't know. Maybe it has to do with the fact that we moved around a lot, and I was like, I'll make friends later. I'm just gonna stay in and watch TV. But yeah, I remember catching this when it started, and I watched all 5 of the TV movies, and I'm gonna name them off right now. So of course we have what we're talking about here, Hercules and the Amazon Women. That was followed by Hercules and the Lost Kingdom, Hercules and the Circle of Fire, Hercules in the Underworld, and Hercules in the Maze of the Minotaur, which was actually a clip show, they said, of the previous films. And then after that gave birth to the hit TV show, Hercules, the Legendary Journeys. And that, of course, spun off Xena, and then eventually Young Herc. And I was reading that the TV show lasted 5 seasons, and then they started their 6th, and they wanted Kevin Sorbo to sign a 3-year extension, which he declined. So they were just like, after 8 episodes, we don't need to shoot anymore. And then that was the end of Hercules.
So yeah, that's pretty much accurate. I read an interview. One of the interviews I read with K. Sorbs had a little bit more detail. He said he just couldn't handle his sex. No. Right. So basically, he declined the contract extension, like you said. He had signed up to star in Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda. Gene Roddenberry, of course, the creator of Star Trek. But there were 8 months before Andromeda started up, so they had time, he said, to do the season. But the producers of Hercules and the studio, they were kind of the way he does say that the way it seemed to him is that they were kind of miffed at him, or like mad, upset with him for not signing like the 3-year extension.
Right. And
so basically he thinks like kind of as a fuck you, and I'm quoting him here, as a fuck you to him, they cut it short to 8 episodes. I will say something I really liked about Kevin Sorbo in the interview that I read. A lot of times when actors are kind of typecast, and I don't know if he's typecast per se, but when you're remembered mostly for a role,
Right.
Actors tend to like kind of despise that role
Sure.
or hate to like talk about it,
Yeah.
hate that they're recognized by it. He has a really, really good attitude about the role. He genuinely liked the show. He loves that he was a part of it. He was really happy with the beginning and end, minus the fact that he says like, "Hey, we rushed the end of
Right.
it." I'll say this: he seems to have like a very, at least, let me rephrase that. In 2013, he had a very level-headed view. I don't know these days, but
Right. I gotcha. So yeah, it was part of a block of syndicated shows put out by Universal TV called the Universal Action Block, and I think some of those other ones that were in there. I remember there was like a Knight Rider show. Do you remember anything of the Universal Action Block or Pack?
No,
That's what it's called. Universal Action Pack.
no, because I mean, it's syndicated, right? So it could be different in different markets.
Absolutely.
And the way I remember it was it aired as part of its own thing. It didn't air like as a block of syndicated shows, at least
Gotcha.
locally for me. But there was stuff like that. Like I remember like Babylon 5, for example, aired as part of like a block of programming called like the Primetime Entertainment Network. So like that kind of stuff, it was weird. Like these companies would like create like these pseudo fake networks within syndication. It was so dumb. But what
Right.
about you? Did you partake in the other action block shows?
Oh yeah, yes I did. I think Tech War was a part of it. You had to have watched
Oh
Tech
shit!
War?
That's not on the list.
Yeah,
is it?
No, I don't think it is. We need to add it to the list.
It is
for
now.
Sure.
It is.
Yeah,
now.
I watched
I'm doing
all
it right
the
now. Don't you worry,
because
sir.
the same thing happened to Tech War. They had like a bunch of TV movies, and then it spawned a TV series. And so yeah, I remember Tech War was a part of it. I think like there was some sort of Smokey and the Bandit style show that was just called Bandit.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. So of course it was on TV, so I watched it because that's who I was back then. Yeah. Anyway, so I think that pretty much covers kind of like the back story for at least the Sorbo verse of Hercules. So to take us into the synopsis of the show, or movie, sorry, TV movie, it's Hercules and Aeolus take time out from Aeolus's wedding preparations to help a distant village under attack from monsters. When they reach their destination, they find the monsters are, in fact, Amazonian women who are who are controlled by Hera. And that's that. That pretty much sums it up, I think. It's so weird because like the whole Hercules Sorbo-verse, I'm going to keep calling it that, just like feels like it was all directed by Sam Raimi, but it wasn't. But he did executive produce. It feels a lot like Army of Darkness to me in tone and sort of like the cheekiness and everything. But the director of this particular movie was one Bill Norton, who directed episodes of Sequest 2032. Make sure you check out our Sequest episode. 80s Twilight Zone, Profiler, Buffy, and Angel. And then we got the writing team here. Kicks off with one Andrew Detman, who wrote episodes of SWAT, CSI, The Pretender. Make sure you check out our Pretender episode. Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, one of Yahel's favorites, and all the other Herc stuff. He worked like all throughout the Sorbo-verse. And then we have, I believe her name is either Jewel Selbo or Julie with just an E, no I-E or Y. She wrote episodes of the original 80s Flash, Young Indiana Jones, Tales from the Dark Side, Adventures of Sinbad. You remember that one? That came out after Hercules, Adventures of Sinbad.
Tales from the Dark Side is another TV show that we should do.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And last,
because it recently, what's funny, Steve? I recently tried to look up, like find Tales from the Dark Side streaming, and guess where I found it?
Tubi.
Right along Daily Motion, right alongside the person that's been uploading Baywatch Nights episodes to Daily Motion.
Wow.
3 weeks ago, they started uploading Tales from the Dark Side. So thank you, whoever you are.
And this guy's a hero.
Yeah.
And last but not least,
He has a big penis, I bet.
Herculean in size, you think?
Yeah.
So last but not least in the writing team is one Daniel Truly, who's just truly good. He wrote some episodes of Blade the series, The Pretender, Lois and Clark, and SmackDown and Raw. That's right, the wrestling shows. They have a script. It's not real. But it's real to us, though. It's real to us. And as I said, the production companies were Renaissance Pictures. And I already mentioned that they created Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, all that other stuff. So did you want to take us through the cast there, Yahel?
Sure. So even though there's kind of a lot of people on this show, there's not that many TV movie. There's not that many that are featured heavily. So I'm just going to kind of go over the featured actors and actresses.
Sure.
Obviously, we have Kevin Sorbo. You know him from being the creepy guy waiting outside the confessional booth at your local church.
I don't think he's Catholic, but sure, let's go with it.
I don't think so either, but I just go with it.
Yeah, no problem.
Anyway, so we all obviously know he was Hercules. I mentioned earlier he was in Andromeda, which is a Gene Roddenberry show, which I've never watched, but I need to. 'Cause I've heard it's actually pretty good.
Now that was made posthumously, right? I don't think it's the right word, but
posthumously.
That's it.
Yeah, you had the right word. Just the pronunciation was a little off. It's okay. English is your first.
Thank you, foreigner.
Exactly. For those that don't know, I'm from Puerto Rico originally. But anyways, yeah. So, and obviously, like we mentioned earlier, he does a lot of religious movies, but Kevin Sorbo does. But dude, even if you don't look at those religious movies, the guy has kept working super regularly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I think you and I will both recommend checking out Pool Boy.
Oh yeah.
It's a bit low budget. It's over the top, politically incorrect comedy, but it's done the right way.
Oh, absolutely.
Is what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, I know him more from Rodeo Girl, Dream Champion, of course. Anyway,
another movie I was gonna recommend that we watch of his is I think you should have it in front of you. It's sort of like a Conan ripoff. It's called
Cole?
Yeah, that's it. I've always wanted to see that. Yeah,
I wanted to see that too. Then next we have Anthony Quinn. I don't know how he got tied up in this.
Wow.
But,
I'll tell you why when we get to it.
Oh, great. I'm glad you know. So
Yeah.
Anthony Quinn, legendary actor.
Mm-hmm.
He, I think, I mean, most of our listeners probably aren't going to know who he is, but if you do, you probably know him from Lawrence of Arabia, I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy has worked in the industry for a long time. He was born in 1915 or 1912, something like that. But yeah, he has a ton of credits. Great actor.
Mm-hmm.
And he's wonderful as Zeus here. He does not play Zeus on the TV show, though.
Well,
just in
I think, again, because the TV show came out posthumously.
Oh, he died? No, he was alive during the TV show because he died in 2001.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah.
Shows what I know.
But maybe he was sick or
it probably didn't.
Sick of the script.
They just didn't want to. Well, I just think Lucy Lawless didn't want to do any more bedroom scenes with him.
Yeah, maybe that too. So since you brought up Lucy Lawless, she is also in this. Now, we know her as Xena inside the Hercules / Sorboverse. However, she does not play Xena in this show. She plays just one of the Amazonian women. She is outside of the queen of the Amazonians.
She's the number 2,
Yeah, she's the number 2, exactly. She's the Will Riker, the Commander Riker of the Amazonians.
Right.
But Lucy Lawless has done a bunch of stuff. Xena, she's been in a bunch of films, a lot of TV shows. I know she was in Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Spartacus.
She was in Spartacus, Salem. Of course, Battlestar Galactica, where she kills it in Battlestar Galactica. But yeah, she's great. And then next we have Roma Downey, who plays the Queen of the Amazons. And so I think most people will know her from Touched by an Angel.
Yeah, so weird.
Right. It's weird because here she plays kind of this sexy
villainous.
And she also ended up doing a bunch of Christian movies later on and recently, such as The Bible in 2013 and Son of God in 2014. The Bible is a TV miniseries. So yeah, she's and also she did a one called At Jesus' Side. So she's one of Yeah. Two peas in a pew, if you will. Um, I don't know. Anyways, so then we have Michael Hurst, who plays Aeolus. Obviously, I think he's probably best known from Hercules. He did make some appearances in Xena as well. I think he actually becomes like a regular character on Xena, or a pretty regular character at one point. But anyways, he's another guy that's working very regularly. He's got a bunch of stuff. He's just never like the lead guy. But yeah, he's still working to this day. Then we've got that's really kind of like the main cast. The other one that I was going to point out was Lloyd Scott. He plays, what's the guy's name? Pythus. He's somewhat important to the story because he approaches Hercules' character, but the guy didn't work a lot. He did do a movie or short in 2021 and some stuff here and there, but for the most part, didn't get a lot of parts. He's only got 14 credits to his name, but that kind of makes up what I felt were the important players in this movie.
That is so interesting. Also, I've got a little fun fact to throw in there. You know the little girl that he approaches who turns into the Hydra?
Yeah.
That little girl is Rose McIver from iZombie. You ever watch any iZombie?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And now she's in some show called Ghosts. I haven't seen it. I don't know if it was any good. iZombie was okay. But all right. I think that sums up all the important players. But of course, there's no small parts, only small actors, right? All right.
Yeah.
So
like Michael Hurst.
He is small, but he's good though.
I don't know if he's small as much as Kevin Sorbo's tall.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
He's probably like average height, maybe slightly less than average height.
Right.
Dude, I remember though later on, not that he's in bad shape in this TV movie, but I remember like he gets pretty jacked in later seasons of Hercules, and Kevin Sorbo kind of thins out and gets less muscular towards the end of Hercules. From what I remember, that's how I'm remembering it. But I mean, I could be wrong. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
All right, so we'll jump right into the movie here, and we open up with some VO over some shots of beautiful New Zealand, which is where this was shot, and we get the VO, which is basically present before every Hercules movie and TV show, and it's this is the story of a time long ago when the Earth was still young and virginal. They don't say that. The gods,
supple.
Yeah,
back when the Earth was hot.
Right. So hot back then. The gods plagued mankind, and there was nowhere to turn until Hercules arrived, born of Zeus and a human woman, plagued by Hera, the queen of the gods. So basically, they just sum up everything for you, so you don't even have to watch the other stuff. But this is the first one, so yeah, whatever. So the cold open, we are out in a dark forest, again, presumably in New Zealand. 3 men wander through, and they are afraid of something. One wants to turn back, but the others say that they're gonna make it. One guy gets pulled into the bushes and is subsequently killed. The other falls into a trap hole where, I don't know, something in that hole is like, I don't know, it looks like it's eating him or something, but I guess we can just assume that there's an Amazon in there constantly stabbing away or something, which is pretty gruesome if you think about it.
Yeah.
And so there's only one guy left, which ends up being Pythus, and he runs away, and then we basically get our opening credits sequence. Once again, aerial footage of beautiful New Zealand when they play the theme, which is again by the Renaissance Pictures regular composer Joe Lo Duca of Army of Darkness and Evil Dead 2 and Mantis. Make sure you check out Mantis. And so we jump into the film, and it's daytime. We see a nice village with families and kids. Kids are kicking around a ball. One kid with a huge mullet runs and tells Aeolus that someone is coming. We see a pair of mighty boots walk through the village. Then Aeolus tries to attack the person in these boots, but of course it's Hercules and he gets the drop. They then play a game of grab ass that results with Herc body pressing him, Ultimate Warrior style, over his head. Any comments on the cold open and anything that we've seen so far?
No, I mean, it definitely looks good, right? It looks like they put some money into this. Looks well shot. The theme song, I think it's excellent. I think it fits
absolutely
perfectly. I had a feeling you would dig it as well. And yeah, I think it's a pretty nice little cold open.
Sure, and you gotta love a good reveal for your main character. Just seeing the boots first, and then when you actually see Hercules, it's with the sun shining behind him, a la Christ himself. And yeah, it's good. So yes, moving forward, Aeolus wants Herc to have a drink with him before his wedding, but Herc says he has to get along to see his mom. So Aeolus tags along. Herc says as they walk, they basically get caught up on where they've been. Herc says he can't believe that Aeolus is getting married. They walk and chat as good friends do. Aeolus tells Herc that his wife, Anya, is pretty but bad at everything else. And Aeolus says someday Herc will meet a woman unlike any other, but Herc says never. But we all know that woman is one Xena warrior princess.
Can we talk about how, right off the bat, because I believe at this point, so there's a lot of, when you first start watching it, just over-the-top blatant misogyny.
Sure, but there's a reason for it, though.
Right, there is a reason.
It's all plays into the plot.
Yeah, it does. But I think at this point, the first instance of it is, there's some kids playing some game, and, some girl wants to join the little boys playing, and the little boy says something to her like, "You can't play this, it's a boys' game, blah, blah, blah." And then, the girl's mom says, "He's right." He's right. Get in the kitchen with me.
But it's great.
Which is kind of weird.
Right. It's weird, but it all plays into the plot and the theme here.
Yeah, it does.
So it pays off in the end if you stick with it. One of those.
And I didn't remember how this went at all. As I watched the show, I remembered it. So it was so over the top, all the stuff they say about women, that I was like, this either has to be going somewhere, because if it doesn't, wow, is this misogynist?
Right,
but it is going somewhere.
See, I'll get to my thoughts behind that later. But yeah, so they find, as they're chatting and walking through the forest, they run afoul the aforementioned little girl, Rose McIver, crying in the forest. She says a monster ate her father. Then she turns into that monster and strangles Herc. She strangles Herc first, then turns into a CGI Hydra. Herc then chops its head off. And, if you don't know anything about, I guess, Greek or Roman mythology, if you're 8 years old watching it, you're like, "Oh, yay, Herc, you chopped off the snake's head." And he walks away, and it's like, "Oh my goodness, 2 heads grew where the one head was." And he keeps chopping, and more heads keep growing. It's pretty hilarious. So then basically he fights it, and it's awesome because they intercut close-ups of a horrible Hydra puppet with the wide shot of the Hydra CGI. And,
which is worse, the CG or the Hydra?
I mean, I think it's all a wonderful cheeseburger.
Yeah. I mean, there's a charm to it. The
Absolutely.
CG in the show isn't good, but
no.
What show in 1994, 1995 had great CG?
Exactly.
At least, there was some decent space CG effects on TV every once in a while back then. But stuff when you're doing a creature in CG back then, it wasn't good. Even in film, it usually wasn't good.
Right, you're absolutely right. But I mean, I was happy when they added in the close-ups of the puppets. Me too. So it all results in Herc burning the Hydra, which is what you do, kids. If you ever run across a Hydra, you burn it. You don't keep chopping its heads off. So Herc sees a peacock feather, and somehow that's supposed to be the, I guess, calling card of one Hera. And he's like, "Hera is behind this." And
Hera is, by the way, the wife of, she's a god, and the wife of
Queen
Zeus.
of the gods, yep. And
Queen of, yep.
Who's super jealous because, Zeus, he's a player, baby. He just...
Anthony Quinn is hot.
Especially at age 75.
He's a hot 75-year-old.
Well, he's definitely charismatic. I'll give him that. But yeah. So that's like the whole thing is Hera wants to teach like Hercules a lesson, and then in turn angering Zeus, I guess. And then there's a line that is by, I think it's Zeus or maybe Hercules. I can't remember. It says, Hera is a perfect example of when a woman gets too much power.
Yeah, he tells that to Aeolus.
Right. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, more. I mean, and I was right with you. I was like, ooh, wow, a lot of misogyny going on here.
I was like, why is the hero a misogynist?
I'm like, I don't remember there being so much. Like, I remember there was a lot of sexy dames in the Sorbo verse, but I don't remember them
generally being like
pretty strong.
Even when they were, even though they were often presented like scantily clad and sexy, they were usually pretty strong. And in all fairness, the way I remember the show, at least, is the men were usually showing like quite a bit of skin too, not just Hercules and Aeolus. So I thought like on the show, again, from my memory, they spread it around pretty well.
Are you talking about VD?
No.
I get what you're saying.
There was eye candy.
Yeah, there was something for everyone. There was something for everyone.
You know, Kevin Sorbo, good-looking guy. He's young and shape,
sure.
And I'm sure that a lot of people a lot of women were like watching this because of him and how he looks. You know, so
absolutely.
It has its female audience, and they made sure to have something there, regardless of what gender you find attractive.
Right, exactly. Well said. All right, so now it's a daytime. We're at Herc's mom's house. They arrive. And this was kind of weird. Herc sneaks up and lifts his mom up like the lead cheerleader. You ever sneak up on your mom and grab her from behind like that, Yahel?
Only when I'm trying to induce a heart attack to get my inheritance. No, I've never done that. And I think when we were talking about Zeus being Hercules' dad and stuff, I don't think we mentioned that Zeus had an affair with Hercules' mom, which is why Hera is angry and jealous. But Zeus was like always like screwing around other ladies and goddesses and stuff. So
and he keeps popping up, kind of like the Watcher in Marvel Comics, if you're familiar with the Watcher.
Yeah.
So Herc's mom says that Zeus gave her the son of a god, and that's all she really wanted. Then
she doesn't care that he wasn't around because she got a half god son.
Right. She got a beautiful son that looks like Kevin Sorbo. Then Zeus appears, and he says he stays out of Hera's way. Zeus says Herc is a wonderful son. Then Mom comes back into the room, and her and Zeus kind of make like flirty eyes at one another. And then it's nighttime. Pithis bumbles around into the village. Aeolus and Anya make dinner. Herc tries Anya's cooking, and he lies and says that it's good. I don't understand, like, why do you think they, at the beginning was this just to create a joke when they were like, oh, Anya's bad at everything, at least she's pretty? Like, is it?
No. It was part of the whole misogyny thing because I'm glad you brought that because like Aeolus and I almost called him Kevin Sorbo. When Aeolus and Hercules are talking about how Aeolus is getting married, Hercules is asking about her. Well, can she cook?
Right,
no, she can't.
Right, and that carries on throughout the show.
Like,
sure.
Can she at least sew? No, she can't. Is she at least good at tending to animals? No. So it's all this stuff that like women are quote unquote.
Can she at least perform open heart surgery?
Yeah, and at some point, like he says, well, at least she'll give you good-looking kids, or something like
Which
that.
Which is basically his way of saying, at least she can bang good.
Yeah, and later on, like when another conversation Hercules and Aeolus have, like Aeolus is like, what do you think about Aeolus Jr. for like name of the son? And Hercules is like, well, what if you have a girl? He's like, oh no, we agreed, only sons.
Yeah, so they're really hammering home their main idea and their theme, like in everything, and that's what you should do in a script. Absolutely.
And what's interesting is that like there's a time later when like I think it's Aeolus or some guy is like in the kitchen or something, and he gets kicked out of the kitchen because the women are like, oh, what's the man doing in the kitchen? Get out of here. So even the women like have misogynistic views until we meet the Amazonian women. So it's pretty interesting too, because I mean, this show is not historically accurate by any means, nor does it try to be. However, you could see how that would be the attitudes of both genders at that time.
Right. Well, I mean, my theory here is that I'm sure like Sam Raimi and Rob Tappert, they were probably all fans of like the classic Hercules like serials and the movies and stuff. And I'm sure back then the misogyny was like on purpose, basically. So they were probably
not ironic or not used to make a point.
Exactly. So I'm sure in their thinking they were like, look, this is the 90s. We have to show people that, Hercules is an evolved male and that, and that this show is for everybody, not just dudes and stuff. So this is basically the origin of Wokules. Even though no one had
that's pretty funny.
Even though that term didn't exist back then.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not Wokules. It's just like, it's basically making Hercules more in tune with what was going on in the 90s.
I mean,
more modern.
It's smart business. Like,
absolutely.
too, like, why wouldn't you want a bigger audience? Why would you want to make a show that only straight dudes would watch?
Right.
When you can make it a show everybody can have an interest in watching. Like,
Sure.
It just makes sense.
Yeah, right. And you'll see that as we continue on, which is what we are going to do right now. So they find Pithis creeping into their window. Herc goes out and approaches him. He tells them they've been attacked by beasts, and of course, Herc says he'll help. Herc tells Aeolus his adventure day. He tells Aeolus that his adventure days, Aeolus's, are over. That he should stay home with his bride-to-be, but of course, Aeolus insists that he come along, and so they have one last, ride out into the sunset before Aeolus gets the old ball and chain attached to his ankle. So Aeolus lies to Anya so he can leave and says that it was all Herc who wanted him to come along. And I wrote here,
starting off his marriage with a bang, lie, a lie that puts him in mortal danger.
Right. I wrote here, marriage off to a great start, Aeolus. Yeah. So cut to Herc, Aeolus, and Pithis traverse the forest. More beautiful footage of New Zealand is seen. They arrive at Pithis' village, which, all right, I was looking around, I was doing my research as well for this, and apparently did you ever watch Monster Vision on TNT back in the day with Joe Bob Briggs?
Sure.
Briggs?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, apparently they did a Monster Vision for this. You can actually go onto YouTube and watch his segments, and I saw in the comments that some guy was complaining that it was like too easy for Herc, Aeolus, and Pithis to just walk into the village because you think the Amazons would be guarding it or something, but whatever. For the sake of the plot,
why do the Amazons need to guard? I mean, they can go in. They're badass.
I think the idea
they don't have anything
is,
to worry about.
I mean, if they found an easy way in, why not take that easy way out? Which at the beginning of the movie, they were, I guess, walking through some area where the Amazons were, I suppose. But, I mean, it's kind of a plot hole. Not really. Yeah. It's nitpicking.
But you have to. I kind of get what they're saying. But by the same token, like, you need to also let, in all TV, like in all movies, let some things go because everything can't function exactly like in the real world. Otherwise, to move the plot along, you're going to have all these little scenes to fill in all these little details that is just boring and
sure.
It's going to pad your runtime.
And overall, I feel like this is a pretty strong script, though there are a few little plot holes that we'll get to.
By the way, Steve, what do you think? Because at this point, we've already seen quite a bit of Aeolus and Hercules' interactions with each other. Mm-hmm. What do you think about them as characters together and their chemistry?
Oh, I think they're great. I mean, it seems like these guys have been friends for years. I would assume that Kevin Sorbo and Michael Hurst hung out after shows. I mean, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But I mean, as far as being on camera, they're great. I mean, in fact, I could say that the great thing about this movie overall, and I should probably save this for the end, is that everybody does a great job. All the actors do. They commit really well.
Everyone's cast really well, and Michael Hurst and Kevin Sorbo, they have really good chemistry. I don't know if they were legit friends or not, but Yeah, they're great. They're very likable, and their scenes together when they're like giving each other shit, like they're really fun scenes.
Sure, it reminds me of when you and I used to hang out. All right, so Herc and Aeolus, or where was I? Okay, so they arrive at Pittis' village. Herc realizes there's no women in the village. Herc also realizes or starts to think that the men in the village are lying to him. Then Herc and Aeolus venture...
because they're asking like about this baby and like where did the baby come from if there's no women, and they're like, oh, they're just being left by the river. Somebody just abandons them and they float down the river.
Right.
And they're like, what do you mean? Like, where's this baby from? From the river. I told you. Like, they're not giving them all the details, basically.
Right. So Herc and Aeolus venture deep into the forest. They find two bodies strung up. I guess, were those the guys from the beginning? I can't remember.
I think so.
But it doesn't really matter either way. So the quote-unquote creatures then jump down from the trees. They constantly swing their weapons at the heroes, and then they fight for a bit. They then reverse jump back into the trees. Aeolus trips and drops his sword. The creatures grab it like from underneath the ground. Herc realizes they are underneath them. He then like reaches into the ground and pulls up one of them, and then the creatures again start swinging their weapons. Aeolus runs after one of them who wounded him because he was angry. He then pulls the mask off. And then turns away from his enemy back to Herc and goes, "Herc, it's a woman."
It's a woman, Herc. Can you believe it?
I know. Yeah. Let me just turn away to give her just enough time to stab him
and kill him.
Yes. Yeah. And then Herc and Aeolus have like your sort of classic, movie moment where the best friend dies, and then Herc has to avenge his death. The women then advance on Herc, but Xena says no, the queen wants to kill him. And this is when I start, the kind of like voice of logic starts to come up in my head. It's like, and this is kind of a problem for Hercules. It's like they're never really clear on like how strong or how weak he is. 'Cause like, Aeolus dies, you'd think he would just rip all of the Amazons to shreds at this point.
Right.
But instead, he allows himself to be captured. You could make the argument that, maybe he wants to get to the bottom of it. But even if you get to the bottom of it, your friend is dead. So how can you? So how can we?
Yeah, because I was reading too about this, and what I remember, and what I read backed it up, is that in the TV series, he's strong. They made him stronger than they did in these original movies, at least the first movie. So because he's kind of just like he is considered the strongest man in the world, but. Just because you're the strongest man in the world, does that mean you can take on like 30 like Amazon warriors at once?
I guess not. And they do show him like bleeding also. Right. At one point.
And there were two of them. Like Hercules and Aeolus, and they were struggling to take. When there were two of them. So
right.
I could kind of see it. It could also be a thing where like maybe Hercules wants to get to the queen to try and like kill her. There's lots of ways you could look at it. You could also even like. To the plot point that YouTube commenter made, like maybe the queen like was told by Hera, who we find out is running the whole thing, no, let these guys through because I want you to ambush them to take care of them later or something like that. So
you just have to roll with it.
You do have a point. You do have a point.
Right. And like it's kind of addressed later. Like we're gonna get to a point where Herc gets captured and then Zeus shows up and he's like, hey, Mr. Strongest guy in the world, like you could just, bust your way out of this cage. And he's like, no, I want to stay here. But well, I'm getting too far ahead of myself.
Yeah. You're getting 7 minutes ahead of yourself.
So anyway, we are now in the Amazon village. They parade Hercules shirtless through the Amazon village.
Yeah, I think this is the only time he's shirtless in the series. I don't think he's ever fully shirtless.
I would have marked it in my memory for sure.
No, same here. Put that one in the Sorbo spank bank.
Oh man. All right, so you see young girls training. Xena, I shouldn't call her Xena. I can't remember her regular name, but I just keep calling her Xena.
I think it was just like Anna or something like that. Lycia, excuse me.
Lucia, that's
Lycia?
it. Yeah, Lycia
Yeah, something like
tells him he's the only man in the city of Amazons. They take him inside to meet the queen, aka Roma Downey, aka Hippolyta. They tell him to wash the queen's feet, and of course he's not going to do that because he's Hercules. He's all man, baby.
Yeah.
So the queen thinks Herc is there to destroy them. Herc says,
I will say the queen has a pretty good line here because she says when he doesn't wash her feet, which he couldn't anyways because he's all tied up in this wooden block.
Right.
But he makes he scoffs at it, and she's like, "You would rather die than make yourself, than reduce yourself to what you think it's a woman's job is supposed to be."
Yeah,
and she kind of she knows he's gonna refuse, and that's what she uses to kind of start her little rant about how men view women, and I thought it was actually pretty good writing.
Oh no, it is. They have a great sort of witty repartee here, mostly from Hera's perspective. And it basically just really sort of reinforces the theme of the whole movie here. Herc says that men protect women because they are weaker. And,
because she says you guys control us or something like that, or men want to dominate us, and he's like, no, we don't dominate you, we protect you, which sounds like super condescending. Right.
See, but I mean, even in this version of Hercules, before we get to the one at the end of the movie, he thinks that that's the right way of thinking. But
right. Where he's coming from, he means well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But, yeah.
So then she uses this weird candle that she got from Bed Bath & Beyond to turn Herc into a little baby. And then there's
they do a morph effect, which was very expensive. They morph him, a pretty good morph effect from adult to baby. Mm-hmm. And they I don't know if you've ever used 90s morphing software, but I have. Don't ask. And basically, to do that morph, you would have had to morph, do a bunch of intermediary morphs between the different. You couldn't just morph him from adult footage of him as an adult and footage of a baby. You had to do a bunch of intermediary ones. So what I'm trying to say, this was a very expensive shot at the time that this was made, and the lighting throughout the morph is really good. Everything matches up perfectly, which can be difficult to sync up in a morph. So it's a really impressive shot for the time. I mean, does it look like shit in a way? Because it's we could obviously do a much better morph now, but
I thought it looked great for the time. Absolutely.
Yeah, for the time, that's about as good a morph as you're gonna get. So
morph, no. Sorry, flashback to X-Men.
From the X-Men. Yeah.
So Herc turns into a baby. Then there's a bunch of flashbacks. First to Herc as a baby and Daddy Zeus telling baby Herc to take a lot of women when he grows up. Mm-hmm. Then we're back with the queen, and she says this is what all fathers teach to their sons, and it never changes. Then there's a flashback of Herc and Aeolus as supple young boys, might I add, fighting. They're fighting they're training at fight school, basically.
Yeah.
And the coach says that men are stone and emotions are for weak girls.
Yeah. He says don't be like women, full of emotion and instinct, which I thought was weird. Every animal on Earth is full of instincts.
Right. And this is again kind of a sort of little logic thing that sort of crept into my mind. Again, you should go with it and not question anything, because this is just fun pulp stuff we're dealing with. But yeah. I was like, why is Hippolyta talking to a baby? She probably should have just kept him. I mean, I guess he has to relive as a baby.
I think the idea is she's talking to his mind. In Hercules' mind, he can still because after the morph thing and he goes back to being an adult, they talk as if he remembers everything that she was saying. So I think that's the idea. Sure. Maybe just not explained or shown well to the audience.
Right. So Herc tells the queen that Aeolus was his best friend. Oh yeah, he grows back into a man again. He tells the queen that Aeolus was his best friend. Herc asks the queen what if he could change. He says that the queen has become exactly like the men she hates. And the queen then locks Herc in a cage. Some women then come, or some Amazonian women come and poke Herc with a stick. They tell him that they have heard that men and women live together in other places in peace. Then Lucia, a.k.a. Xena, comes and frightens them off. He scampers them off. She sprays them with water, whatever.
Yeah, she's like, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be talking to him. Get out of here.
Zeus then shows up and offers some help. And instead of asking for Aeolus to be brought back to life, he asks Zeus to tell him how to understand women.
But then Zeus is like, oh, God, who could understand women anyway?
Right.
Like, Zeus has a bunch of misogynistic stuff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, who would be more misogynistic other than Zeus? He probably created him. Herc says he's staying. This is where Zeus, like, sort of challenges him. He's like, if you're the strongest guy in the world, why don't you break out of here? Herc says he's staying basically because he's attracted to Queen Hippolyta because of her power. Zeus says that if Herc messes around with the Amazons, it will upset Hera. And by mess around, he means banging.
Yeah, and Herc's whole thing with Hippolytus is that he's like, no, there's something different about her. You know, she's strong, she's powerful. Like, you can see, like, this is kind of Hercules saying, like, oh, I didn't know a woman could be like this.
Right, exactly.
Even though he's currently at a village where 100% of the women are like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just Hippolytus, but whatever. You know, that's obviously who he's interacted with the most. And I thought there was a really good line when Hippolytus is like talking to Hercules, where she says, like, even now, even though you're so mad about Aeolus's death, blah blah blah, you're still finding me attracted. You're still attracted to me, and, even though.
Yeah, and in that way, you could then make the argument that, oh, that's why he's not ripping them all to shreds, because he's got to get some sweet Hippolyta. But then, you know, when Aeolus actually died, you know, he had no idea that there was that Hippolyta was anywhere, you know, involved. But whatever. It's okay.
I mean, Hippolyta didn't kill Aeolus.
Right, exactly.
Not directly, at least. Right?
I mean, what I'm saying is that, like, rather than destroy the Amazons who killed Aeolus, he was like, no, I'm going to play it cool and see who's behind this. Maybe it'll be someone I can have sex with.
Right. Well, and to be fair, like, Hercules' whole thing while he's there is to try and figure out how to stop the village from being, like, the men in the village from being like killed and destroyed. So, you know, just going around killing the Amazonians, like, he doesn't know that that's going to resolve anything. He doesn't know if there's more somewhere else or whatever. So, you know, and you can't have, like, your hero just, like, be like such, like, a blunt instrument, you know.
No. I mean, he's not the Punisher, that's for sure.
Right.
So Herc escapes. Oh, wait. So Hippolyta tells Lucia to ready the warriors for attack. So we all think they're going to attack the village. Herc hears that and escapes, returns to Pithys' village and warns them about the oncoming Amazon attack. The men are reluctant to fight back, and Pithys says there's something more he has to tell them about their attack. Cut to the Amazons prepare for battle by dancing around a fire, lotioning up, putting on their armor. I was just like, why is someone lotioning up before it's like, are they putting sunscreen on? Like, what's going on?
We do kind of, I guess, like, I don't know. It's supposed to be.
Oh, that was like, there. That was there for the dudes, man. It's okay.
Yeah. I mean, maybe in a way it's supposed to be like, because we obviously find out in the next scene that they're there to go into the village to have sex with the men.
So it was KY jelly, is what you're saying.
I think it's supposed to be like the women like trying to make themselves more sexually appealing to the men, kind of.
Oh, I don't think the men had a choice in the matter.
Well, they don't have a choice, but I'm just saying, like, it's supposed to show you that the women aren't preparing for battle the way you think they are.
Right.
It's not the kind of battle that it's not a physical. Well, it is a physical battle, but not. I don't know what I'm trying to say anymore, Steve.
It's okay. I mean,
I just wish we would have seen Kevin Sorbo preparing for battle, if you know what I mean.
Well, I mean, they
lotioning up.
Right, of course. Right, I'm right there with you, buddy. So Herc tells a bunch of men to do. So all right. So they cut back to Herc in the village, and he's like, "All right, guys, now don't forget to do exactly what I told you." And so Hera says they only have until, wait, not Hera. Hippolyta says they only have until the end of the sound of the horn to, again, at this point, we think that they're going in there to slaughter the men. And then the Amazon warriors burst into the village, or they burst into one of their huts, and they want sex. That's what they want.
Yeah.
But the men turn it around on them, and they say, "But hey, why don't you tell me about you as a person?"
Yeah. Like the first Amazonian burst into the first guy's hut, because like they each Amazonian goes into like an individual hut. There's an individual guy, and he's like, yeah. But first, he like pulls out like a tray or a plate with like drinks, and he's like, "Hey, first, why don't you tell me about you?" And she's like, "What? We don't have time for this.
No, let's get to the sex. No, please tell me your favorite whatever."
Yeah, and he's like, "Yeah, we do have time for it," which implies to me this is a 2-pump chump.
Well, I was gonna ask you, like, do you think these Amazons are out of these village men's league?
Yes. The Amazonian women, they're all like very attractive women, and the villagers, for the most part, like the Amazonian women all look like, maybe the oldest one, the one where like she has like a 10-year-old kid with one of the men there, like she might be in her 40s, but like all of them look like they're in their 20s or early 30s. At the most, and they're all very attractive women.
Right. So
yes,
I'm sure like every day those dudes were like, "Hey, you think they're gonna attack us today?"
Right.
I mean, because they want it. But anyway, through the power of Herc and his persuasive silver tongue, he teaches these lowly villagers about, I guess, conversation and dating.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, one guy like writes a song for one of, because each villager, we should point out, each man in this village always sees the same Amazonian woman every time they come to attack. So, which I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's very old-fashioned, I'd say.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't you want to mix it up? Come on.
Right. But
spread it around, as Yahel said earlier.
Yeah. So yeah, like one of them like writes like a song.
A love song, yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, the love song isn't complete. I can't give it a title without knowing your name."
Right.
Another one, like she comes into the tent. This is like the oldest of the Amazon women, and the guy's like, "Okay, but first I want you to meet your son."
That's Pithis. Pithis brings his son Franco, and was like, basically he's like, "Hey, you want to be a mom?" And then this is my favorite part, and I'm sure at the time when I was watching it, you know, Lucy Lawless was not a name, and you know, I don't know, maybe 12-year-old or 11-year-old brain probably didn't even realize what was going on. But basically, Lucia comes upon Zeus, and they totally bone. That's right.
And isn't it weird? I got the impression that everybody knows what Zeus looks like, but I guess not, because she acts like he's just a regular dude.
I mean, I get the impression that only Herc and Herc's mom could actually see him, let alone know what he looks like.
Right.
Yeah. So then Herc comes around and confronts Hippolyta, says that they do need men, says Hera that's, you know, they're not really free. Hera is controlling her and the Amazon. Herc challenges Hippolyta to kill him, but she doesn't. And Herc sweet talks her, and they totally bone. Now it's the next day. All the couples are sort of like lying in bed, talking to one another, and they're all happy. And then they show Zeus and Xena, Xena lays upon Zeus's bosom. Hippolyta then says, "This has gone on long enough," and she sounds the horn. The men stand, and then they leave. Then the next scene is all the men from the village standing around talking about all the great sex that they had. And Herc gives them all a stern talking about toxic masculinity, which, again, that phrase did not exist in the 90s. But, I mean, basically that's what's going on here. Because
he's just telling them, like, hey, you guys know what to do. Just treat them with respect, and you'll be treated with respect, basically, is what it comes down to. Which, to be fair, I mean, hey, that's a good lesson in life in general.
Oh, no, absolutely. I agree 100%.
And to be fair, like Hercules, you see now Hercules is starting to see women differently too.
Right.
You know,
and this is Hercules' character arc, changing him from the old, pulp character of the 40s or 50s to an enlightened man of the 90s. Okay, so now all the Amazons are talking about the great sex they had. Lucia was especially well-boned. I don't know why I wrote that, but whatever. Too late, I read it. Hippolyta talks to Hera, says they've gone too far. Hera tries to convince Hippolyta that Herc is a liar, but she doesn't believe her. But Hera just goes ahead and takes over Hippolyta's body anyway.
Because Hippolyta refuses, because Hera says, you need to go kill all of them right now. She refuses.
Right. And then Hippolyta, / Hera rallies all the women, this time to kill, no sex, just the killing. And the name of the village are the Gargamenchians, which sounds like Gargamel to me. But
weird name, kind of a marble mouth.
It's a mouthful for sure.
Yeah.
The Amazons approach.
And nobody knows that Hera has taken over Hippolyta's body at this point. By the way, the Amazonians don't know. Obviously, the men don't know, etc. So they all think this is just, your regular old queen, but it's really Hera.
Right. And nothing, not even the great sex they had will have them disobey their queen.
Yeah, they are disappointed by the order, and they're clearly hesitant, but they're going to follow their queen.
Always do what your politicians tell you to do, no matter what. Never question anything. Just putting that out there.
Yeah.
If Joe Biden tells you to go, all right, whatever. All right, so they
kill the men you're having sex with. You do what JB tells you.
Yeah, he's like, kill all the men. All right, whatever. All right, so the Amazons approach on horseback. All the men are awaiting with flowers in hand. Then they realize that the Amazons are coming to massacre them, so they run away. Hippolyta tells Lucia / Xena to kill Pithis. And then she pulls back to strike, but then Pithis' wife says no. Hippolyta then tries to strike, but then Herc shows up, and it was weird because we really had no idea where Herc was this whole time. It was like, what were you doing, buddy? But anyway, he shows up, and he looks into Hippolyta's eyes and sees that Hera has taken over. Herc.
Well, she says something about how like Zeus couldn't be faithful for one more day. Like she brings it up, and then that's when he's like, "Oh, this is Hera," and they show her eyes again. I think the peacock thing in her eyes, so he knows that that's Hera.
So Herc then fights Hippolyta / Hera. She is poised to strike, but then just runs away on horseback.
Hercules runs away on horseback. And the villagers are like, well, what's he doing that? And Pithis is like, he's trying to save us, because then Hera goes chasing after Hercules.
Thank you for adding that. So as he is running away, Herc once again finds Zeus in the forest. Herc tells Zeus that women are free to make up their minds about anything they want. Herc asks for help, but of course Zeus says no. And then Herc and Hera / Hippolyta fight again. And then Herc, this whole time, he's doing the classic thing. It's like, fight it, Hippolyta, like, you're better than this. But of course,
and Hercules is only being defensive. He's not like striking her. He's like, I won't fight you.
Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. I won't let me hurt her. Basically, I think he says that at one point. And there's a great line here, I guess, by Hera or Hippolyta, however you want to look at it. She goes, Hercules is bleeding because he's, allowed himself to be beat up by Hera. And she goes, "Oh, good. The bleeding has begun." I don't know. For some reason, I just really like that
I thought
line.
It was good too.
So then Pithis then saves Herc, and Hera cuts his throat. And I remember even when I watched this as a kid, I was like, whoa. And then it only gets worse from there, really. Herc says he won't. Again, this is where he says Herc says he won't let Hera hurt Hippolyta, and Herc then. Yeah,
Hercules kind of goes on the offensive and like kind of gets her weapon out of her hand and has her backed up against a tree. And Hera's like, "Go on, kill me. I know you want to. This is what you've been waiting for." And he's like, "I won't let you I won't let you meet whatever. You know, he's
Yeah,
not gonna hurt Hippolyta. She's got that sweet
porcelain skin.
box that he wants to be back inside. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know. I apologize.
Too late.
I apologize.
Oh man. So Herc then walks out onto a platform over a waterfall.
I thought this was the biggest plot hole, because like, why did he just walk? He basically walks himself into a corner,
right?
Because it's like this platform that leads out over a waterfall, like you said.
Yeah, well, they needed that.
He has like an entire forest that he can run in,
right?
And then Hera says, "Oh, it looks like you have no choice but to fight me now." But again, like I think you were about to say, like they kind of needed to get to some scenario like that. So it's another thing you got to kind of let go.
Right. I mean, it could have been executed better. They could have just been, sword fighting, like once again, like Herc on the defensive, and he sort of just gets backed up to the waterfall area. I don't know.
Instead of choosing to go into the corner.
Right, exactly.
But whatever.
So Herc offers himself for a sacrifice. He's like, kill me, believe Hippolyta alone. But Hippolyta/Hera jumps off the waterfall, killing Hippolyta.
Yeah, like Hera realizes, oh, this will hurt Hercules. This is better than killing Hercules, because this is gonna hurt him. He'll have to live with this pain.
Yeah,
It's kind of fucked up.
Oh, it is. No, this is so dark for a TV movie in the 90s.
And what I like, I suspect a lot of the audience watching probably didn't get it, but I like that they didn't like have Hera make a big speech about like, oh, this is going to hurt. She doesn't spell out exactly why she's just going to kill.
Which, in a show/movie like this, you think that's the way that they would go, but the writing is pretty tight. It's pretty tight.
Yeah.
So Herc returns to the village with Hippolyta's body. And this is Franco. Pithis' little boy goes, "What happened to Dad?" And Mom says, "Sometimes we lose the people we care about, and there's nothing you can do to bring them back." Damn, that's harsh. That is some harsh truths there in what's supposed to be a fun action movie. So Herc goes back to Hippolyta's temple thingamabob and grabs the candle that she used to turn him into a little baby. He asks Zeus to help him go back in time to fix everything. Zeus at first is reluctant. He says he can't reverse time, but Herc pleads.
Well, no, he says he can do it.
Right, but he doesn't want to.
That power. But he doesn't want to because he like says like, you don't understand, like it's very complicated. Like he says that there's stuff with you don't understand how complicated it is with the stars and the planets. And then which is probably the real reason why he doesn't want to do it, then the other gods will be mad and I'll have to deal with them.
Right. But Herc pleads with Zeus. He eventually relents, and he undoes everything.
He sends him back in time.
Right. I mean, basically, this is what they call in literary terms a deus ex machina, which is a perfect machine. Another good example is in the original Christopher Reeve Superman, when he flies back, reverses the gravitational pull of the Earth or whatever to save Lois at the end.
Yeah, he makes the Earth spin
backwards.
in the counter direction that it normally does, and that somehow reverses time.
Right, and usually I would say that these are a big disappointment, and then because when I was watching this, I was like, if I remember correctly, Zeus comes along and undoes everything. But I think it works here, and I'll tell you why as we continue moving forward. So he rewinds time all the way back to the dinner table scene, and now Hercules sees Pithis peeking into the window, and he goes, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's just Pithis."
Well, sorry to cut you off, Steve, but there's one really like, again, like, there's the writing here is really good, and one really nice callback is like Hercules, realizes, oh, I'm back in time. He gets really excited about seeing Aeolus. The first thing he does is like, say, "Oh my God, Aeolus, it's so good to see you." And Aeolus is like, "All right, dude." But then he eats the soup. Aeolus has a funny line. He's like, "If you don't want to eat Anya's like soup or whatever, you don't have to." He's like, "No, I'm gonna eat it." And this time, Hercules, when he eats it, he's genuinely like, he says like it's like the greatest thing he's ever tasted. Right. He's just so happy to like be there and whatever. Yeah. So it was a nice little callback.
Absolutely. And so he then sees Pithis in the window. He goes out and gives Pithis the big, if you treat him with respect, talk to him, then everything will be okay.
Yeah, Hercules says like, "Hey, I know who you are. I know why you're here." And he's like, "Oh," Pythia's like, "Oh, are you gonna come with us to the village?" And Hercules is like, "Nope."
Yeah. Can you imagine that? Like, you go on this big quest to find this guy to help you, and he's just like, "Nah, just do this and help yourself instead." That's what Jesus would do.
I know why you're here. I know the severity of the reasons why you need me. No.
Yeah.
But I mean, Hercules does like tell him, "Hey, no, because if I go, people are going to die."
Right.
And he says like, "Hey, this is what you need to do. You need to treat your enemy with respect and kindness and blah blah blah."
Yeah.
Basically, presumably this is the speech he gave them earlier when Amazonas were going to attack that we didn't see at the time. So
exactly.
And one thing I really like about this is actually I'll let you continue and then I'll come back to this point.
I was just gonna say that we're almost done here. So Herc's mom sees Aeolus and Anya. She says that they belong together. Then asks Herc if there's a woman out there for him, and he says, "Oh, she's out there somewhere." And they show a shot of Hippolyta, and fade to black, and that's the movie basically.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think what's really good, and again, they don't necessarily beat you over the head with it. You kind of have to be an idiot not to see Hercules' like true sacrifice, but he basically sacrificed, his true love to save everybody else. And Hippolyta, nobody else like remembers anything that happened, but Hercules does, and he still has to carry the pain, because obviously he still has feelings for her, and it's just a really great hero's journey.
And that's why I feel the Deus Ex Machina works, because I feel the whole point of this movie, once again, was to bring Hercules, the one from the pulp character from like the 40s or whatever, who was probably a huge misogynist, into a more modern 90s-esque style of a hero.
And it works because usually when there's a big Deus Ex Machina, there's nobody suffers any consequences of whatever was just reversed, and this time there is a consequence, and it happens to the hero, the main character.
Yes, So he did have to give up something, but he got his friends back. Everybody pretty much happily ever after, and that's what heroes are supposed to do, at least in the hero's journey, for sure. And so let's render the old verdict. Oops, and we will continue. Okay, here we go.
Next question.
All right, so I think it's pretty obvious here, but Yahel Velazquez, do you think that Hercules versus Hercules and the Amazon women should be remembered for all of human history, or tossed in the black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again?
I would say keep it. Man, this was better than I remembered it. Like we've said, the writing is really tight. There's really no filler.
Nope.
The sets look great. The costumes look great. Are they accurate? No, but this is Greek mythology. What would be accurate?
It's a fantasy film. Yeah, you can't go back into time and you can't show me a picture of Hercules because he's not a real guy.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it was a lot more action-packed than I remember it being as well. And most of the action, even the fighting scenes, man, it's not like your cheesy 90s TV fighting scenes. Are pretty well done. They're fun. What about you, sir?
Oh, man, I agree with you 100%. This is great. I really enjoyed revisiting this movie and the Sorbo verse 100%. I don't.
By the way, did you know that this Hercules and Xena and the spinoffs, they're actually considered to be in the Xenaverse for whatever reason?
Huh.
I don't know why. Maybe Xena lasted longer or something.
Well, because she married Rob Tapert, the executive producer, and he was like, "Whatever you say,
maybe.
honey. Whatever you say."
Maybe. I do whatever Lucy Lawless told me to do too.
Yeah, that's
because I respect her.
That's sound advice. Me too. Great writing. All the everyone committed. I feel like I feel like a lot of of the newer Marvel movies could take a cue from like this kind of tone. It's like they have like a perfect balance here of like fun and stakes and drama though. I mean, what more could you possibly want at a TV movie that you don't even have to pay to watch, you know?
Yeah. And credit where credit is due, you know. I mean, I think Kevin Sorbo has turned into kind of a caricature of a human being, but I gotta say, like, he does a great job with his performance. Like, his acting is genuinely good. He's extremely likable. Everybody does a really good job, but I would say he's perfectly cast in this role. When I was doing my research, I read that he almost got the part for Mulder in
I think I heard that.
Yeah. In the interview, he said it in one of the interviews I read, and he also almost got the part as Clark in Lewis and Clark, The Adventures of Superman. And which is kind of funny because now him and Dean Cain both do all these like weird Christian movies.
Oh man, I really want them to do a buddy cop movie. It would be the best.
Yeah. But I never thought he was like a bad actor or anything like that.
No.
But I didn't realize how good, or I didn't remember like how good and charming he is.
Right. Yeah, everyone's real likable, and if you want to talk about other sort of fun facts, like Lucy Lawless was actually being considered to be Queen Hippolyta when she went into audition, but for some weird racist reason, they didn't want to cast a Kiwi to be Queen Hippolyta. So they went with Roma Downey instead, and then they just ended up making her the number 2. And then she married Rob Tapper, and she became Xena. So there you go. It all worked out for her.
It all worked out. It all worked out for her. I mean, it might have been too that Roma, you know, she was kind of a known household name, more so because she was on Touched by an Angel at the time, which was a very popular show.
Sure. I mean, I don't know. I just thought it was weird that it was included in the article that was like, I don't know if this Kiwi can handle being Queen Hippolyta. It's like, is there something wrong with Kiwis playing like Greek goddesses? I don't know.
Maybe not that she hasn't. Her American accent's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean,
it couldn't have been that.
Maybe I mean, I don't want to say.
I bet it came down to like the studio saying, "Why don't you put the bigger part to the name that we're also paying more money to?"
Right, for sure. So yeah, let's run this bumper and we'll be out of here.
In accordance to Obscurity Now, the most important streaming YouTube podcast in all of the internet, you shall be remembered. Yes. Good show. Good show.
All right, good times. Yeah, we'll definitely have to revisit the Sorbo verse at some point. Because I mean, it was a lot of fun. Although I think we mentioned it before, maybe when we were talking about Mantis or something, that as Hercules: The Legendary Journey moved into its later seasons, it definitely became like super goofy, like way campy. I'm not saying we shouldn't watch it. I'm just saying it got like I love the tone of the movie we just watched. I
love the tone of the TV show too. Like,
that's what I'm saying. They had that tone for a while. But then after, I don't know, so many seasons, I guess they just were like, we'll just camp it up.
So, they definitely... But, you know, I think it's good because, like, it kept the show from being, like, stale. Mm-hmm. And they got the right actors. Like, Bruce Campbell became, like... featured more regularly.
Yeah.
So they got, like, the right people for the roles where it's like, it's campy, but... Man, it works because, like, much like in this movie where everybody goes for their character, in the TV series, everybody always goes for their characters.
Right.
Did you know that Kevin Sorbo actually wrote and directed a few episodes of Hercules?
Ooh, I did not. We might have to check those out.
Yeah. But, pretty good. I almost kind of wish we would have watched an episode from the series just because the tone is different and, like, that's more so... the established Hercules that I think more people will remember, but this was still excellent.
Oh, we will indeed. That is Hercules and the Amazon Women. I don't know if you want to watch it. I think you could probably pay a couple bucks on Amazon Prime or something. But good stuff. You should check it out for sure.
Yeah. I will say the Hercules, the series, is available to watch for free if you have a Roku device on Roku, because Roku has like their own hub of like free stuff that Roku provides for you to stream, and they have all episodes from the series free of charge.
Nice.
To watch. So, and the video quality is pretty decent. But as far as the movie, you can buy it on DVD from or VHS from Amazon, but you cannot rent it. I cannot find it anywhere to rent. However, you can buy all 5 movies for $30 on DVD. So it's like $5-6 a movie.
What do you think Big Tech has against Hercules and the Amazon women?
I don't know. Probably something to do with rights.
Oh, that's a lot less fun. But
yeah, I'm sorry.
Anyway, anything to report on the project front before we call it a day?
Nothing new on the project front, but I did want to. We talked how Hercules was filmed in New Zealand. Well, I've got a little thing in New Zealand going on. I'm in the latest and first issue of a magazine, a print magazine that's actually in newsstands.
Oh my
called
goodness.
NZ Retro, which is a like a gaming magazine that concentrates on retro gaming for the most part. I got a 2-page spread in the back that I was interviewed for. So if you're in New Zealand, you can buy. Although.
Is there a centerfold of you like naked holding a CDI over your private parts?
No, but there's 2 pictures of me in the magazine. One of them is like one of my pictures that I use for like YouTube and whatever. But the other one is of me from when I was wrestling, holding it's a promo shot with the SCW Championship, because they talk about. So I am shirtless in this magazine,
just like Kevin Sorbo in the movie we watched. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, my first time being in a print publication. It is, I know it was like almost sold out a couple weeks ago, so it may be sold out now. But if you go to nzretro.com, it can be, I believe, purchased there digitally. And they may have some print ones available still to send you. Just checked. The print edition is all sold out, so you can only get it digitally.
Are you getting a print copy? Did they send you one?
I just got mine yesterday.
That's cool. That's awesome.
It's good. And I had kind of forgotten about it because we did the interview so long ago, and I was like, what? So why am I getting something from New Zealand? I'm like, is this from Kevin Sorbo? But no. Nice. What about you, Steve? I know that you got your variant cover done for your Escape to Earth comic, and I believe you're about to launch in about a week, right?
That's right.
Official Kickstarter.
Yeah, we will be. We'll actually be. I think we'll be podcasting on that day. May 1st is the day the Kickstarter goes live for Escape to Earth #1. I will play the trailer as we cut off here at the end. But yeah, there's you can buy it digitally or in print, just like Yahel's New Zealand Gamer magazine over here. Yeah, I mean, there's really not much more to say other than that. I mean, it looks awesome, and I hope you check it out. Other than that, I will be on the Cheap Seat Reviews podcast, which is a movie podcast. We'll be talking about the movie Watership Down, which is a hilarious talking animal movie from, I think, like the early 80s, which actually isn't hilarious at all. It's very depressing. But yeah, if you like movie podcasts, check that out. And then later on, I'll be on the guy who actually drew the variant cover. He's got a live stream.
I'm sorry, Steve. You just said I'm going to be on the guy that actually drew the cover. How are you paying him with your? Are you paying him with sex?
Oh, I wish.
On
man.
the guy?
I added up how much money I spent on this comic, and I wish I could pay in sexual favors. No, the guy who drew the variant cover, like, unlike the rest of the people I work with who are not in the country, I mean, not that I wouldn't go on their live streams if they had them. He's got a live stream where he draws his awesome artwork and stuff, and I will be on there soon to talk about the Kickstarter, which will be live at that point. All the links will be in the show notes. And other than that, I already picked out what we're going to talk about next Sunday. Do you want to hear it? right now?
Sure, Steve. Tell me about my life. What am I doing next Sunday?
Well, what you will be talking about is dang it. It's either it's Cadillacs and Dinosaurs.
Sweet.
The cartoon from the 90s, not the game, which I think everyone knows more. And it actually came from a comic book, but whatever. I've already said too much. That's what we'll be covering next Sunday. So other than that, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell all your friends about Obscurity Now, and we will see you next Sunday as we continue to discuss even more obscure media only on Obscurity Now. And here we go. I'm having a weird day. The name's Adam. Where I'm from, I'm known as the Zero Thief. Depending on who you ask, some might say I'm the best thief. But believe it or not, even the best screws up every once in a while, and that's what I did, and I had to make a fast getaway. I ended up crash landing on this bizarre planet. Turns out, I didn't get away fast enough. These winged freaks followed me here.
It's just us here, Zero Thief, on this empty backwoods planet. So start talking, either to me or my blade.
Okay, I do have something to tell you. It's about the planet. It's not that empty. Come on, man. I thought you were gonna duck. Come loose. Cut me loose. Behind you. Whoa. I thought I was done for. It was gonna be a light snack for a snarling creature. But then, she showed up, riding on the back of one of those monsters like it was nothing. And with a wave of her hand, the other razor-toothed beast just stomped away. I'd never seen anyone like her before in my life. I thought I'd say something clever. Thanks, have you seen my ship? She gave me a look that said more than words ever could, because I think she was trying to read my mind or something. And from there, things just got even weirder. Escape to Earth. 30 pages of insane dinosaur action that will leave you hungry for more. Issue 1, crowdfunding now. Written and created by Stephen Honeycutt. Art by Antonio Brandao. Colors by Bruno Furlani. Jump on now before the whole human race is extinct. Download the digital preview today. You've been enjoying Obscurity Now, a podcast that's recorded live to tape and streamed to Twitch and YouTube. Subscribe so you never miss an episode or hilarious quip. Take us with you by following the download links provided in the show notes to wherever you get podcasts. And take notice of our various social media links if that's what you're into. I'm not here to judge. And make sure you join us live next week at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific as we continue to discuss more obscure media only on Obscurity Now.